In my career as a leader and manager in the aviation business, I've had my fair share of change initiatives experience. These include the accelerated automation of dozens of airport customer service processes, the linking of multiple airline networks, systems, and products through global alliances, system-wide cultural transformation leadership training for thousands of managers and supervisors in a global airline, and the restructuring, downsizing, and change of ownership processes in a regional European carrier involving hundreds of layoffs, a complete business model redesign, and responding to a major accident during the financial crisis of 2008. I can tell you that while some of these were rewarding experiences, because the proposed change was mainly about an improved future desire state, many other initiatives were derived from what I call the triple U. This is when change is unwanted, unplanned, and to be frank, ugly. We can all relate to this triple U when the world changed and reacted to the COVID-19 pandemic using the Kubler-Ross change curve. Back in March of 2020, as the news confirmed the designation of COVID-19 as a global pandemic, I believe we all experienced shock. How does this happen? How will it affect me, my family, my work? How bad is it going to get? As every country decided to implement its public health measures, mirroring the initial reactions in China and Italy, for example, most of us would have experienced denial. They can't lock us down. For how long? When will I see my loved ones or go back to work? After the initial lockdowns, we all had to deal with frustration. New habits and behaviors had to be adopted, like hand washing and mask wearing. To the extent that most of us had not experienced this level of a health crisis in our lifetimes, it may have taken us a while to get used to the new normal. While the statistics and studies are being compiled, it will not surprise us to learn that many entered various states of depression, especially if our work, lifestyle, and income were affected based on our jobs, where we lived, and how much contingency planning, if any, we were able to do. Eventually, by the summer of 2020, we accepted the reality. There was more information, more education, and we adapted to the demands of living and working in a pandemic context. We experimented with new communication tools. We shifted from physical to online purchasing, incorporated social distancing, and remote offices. One day, it just wasn't strange to see ourselves masked when leaving our homes. We weren't given a choice to decide if we wanted to live and work like this. We had to adapt. Life and health depended on it. The new habits, behaviors, and skills allow us to integrate our individual experiences to the new reality. And with the introduction of vaccines and other protocols, most of us are pretty much out of the grief state and coping reasonably well. One thing I want you to think about, regardless of where you lived and experienced the initial phases of the pandemic, is how quickly did you navigate the initial states of shock, denial, frustration, or even depression? I believe there is a correlation of these periods and the frequency, quality, transparency, and effectiveness of the communications from our local, national, and global leaders. Because this was a triple U change, unplanned, unwanted, and ugly, we all resorted to our basic instinctual nature, feared the uncertainty, resist the adoption of new rules, doubt the benefits we were being offered, and become passive until someone or something provided a compelling reason to accept change. Maybe even becoming active endorsers among our family and friend groups and measure even the smallest wins, like being able to take a walk or exercise outdoors. You can assess how these leaders communicated in your own environment. Did they focus on people and feelings or on politics to drive the changes in our personal and professional lives? Did they exhibit empathy and surrounded themselves with experts who could deliver a compelling vision and narrative? Did they use all the channels, platforms, outlets, adapting their message to every specific public or audience? I'm sure many of us rate the effectiveness of these communication efforts as mediocre at best and unacceptable at worst. depending on how long it took each of us to understand all the variables, become reassured with trusted information, and simply getting on with the way things are from now on. If we take this experience to a business and organizational level, based on what I've learned in my corporate life and through this pandemic, I have identified 5 potential risks that leaders and managers face when being mandated to implement change. Focusing on processes versus people, one-way communication, underestimating resources, gaps, and reactions to change, lack of stakeholder management, and not creating feedback loops.